With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Salam and welcome to the Single Muslim Live, sponsored by SingleMuslim.com with me, Nazia Khatun. We're live here on Sky 752 and across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Wherever you're watching, a very warm welcome. You too can join us today in today's discussion and get advice by simply calling in through to the studio on 01924231083. Standard rates apply, so please make sure that you have the bill payer's permission before you call us. But why not share your thoughts with us in confidence on text messaging on 079-5079-7017. Today's guest is Mizanur Rahman, and the topic is finding love after a failed relationship. Assalamu alaikum, Mizanur.
How you doing? You all right?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we've had an interesting discussion already on WhatsApp, so I'm actually so excited for this show. It's Mental Health Week, and I'm going to go straight into the topic. And we don't really discuss men's mental health, and I'm going to tie this in with relationship, marriages, being single, being the topic of what we're discussing as well. There are certain things within the Muslim community that we really shy away from. And I guess societal expectations, gender role, and stereotypes also have a huge impact on the South Asian man, especially the South Asian man, or men, shall I say, not speaking about certain things. So I want to actually just speak to you a little bit in terms of what we don't hear about single men and what hardship they maybe go through when it comes to relationships and finding love. And thank you for sharing some of your stories parts of your story with me on texts. And you were very open about telling me now that I was getting to know someone and it didn't go according to plan. And this was your first time, and this was her, maybe she's had experience before. What was your obstacles that you faced with when you were getting to know her right from the beginning?
Okay, so the obstacles. First of all, I just want to start by mentioning that so I was getting to know this person, and we got to know each other in a very deep way. We're not condoning like haram relationships or anything like that. Our families knew, but obviously there were obstacles that happened along the way. So I just want to make that clear. First things first is at the time when I met the person, there was she was going through a very difficult time. So that was one of the obstacles, and also because of the fact that there were failed relationships in the past with this other person, there was a lot of trust issues with men, and a lot of anger that was harbored because of those issues. And that was something that I had to learn to deal with, because for me, I hadn't been in a relationship before meeting this other person, right? So for me, learning how to deal with that was very hard, and it did kind of tax on me kind of emotionally. But because of the fact that I think I had an understanding of what some women might go through, or how women might be affected in relationships and in failed relationships, because I come from a charity background. I used to do a lot of Muslim youth work. I had a little bit of an understanding anyway, and that helped me develop my patience. But what I found is that the more you try and allay that person's fears and anxieties, and the more you try, even though I was just being myself, the more I tried to deal with their anxieties and their trust issues about guys, the more I found out that the other person wanted to dig more. And it was more like, you know what, you must be hiding something. There must be something there. So let me dig a little bit more deeper. it got to the point where families met. Like, I went to her house, she went to, her family came to my house. But the more I tried my best to just be myself, the more I found out that no, there must be something else dodgy about this other person, and therefore, that that mind state is something I couldn't really overcome. Even though it was done, I understood it to be done because it was a form of protection, right? This other person and other people, like they come from failed relationships. Some relationships, the way they failed were very hard because of cheating and other kind of issues. So I totally understand that. So it was from a person, it was from a place of protection. They're protecting themselves, but when that other person comes across the real deal, and I say this because all of her friends who met me, and some of her family members who met me, they were like, Mizan, you're the real guy, you're the real deal. They don't know how to deal with it, and that's another additional barrier. It took a lot of patience, and also it's not just patience and protection, but also anger as well. There was a lot of anger as well, and I knew that, like, the angers that this person was harboring, in the previous relationships, they wouldn't direct it at those guys. Do you understand? But now that I was on the scene, it was directed at me a lot of the time. So dealing with the anger, understanding, those were the obstacles that I was facing, and it took a lot of patience and a lot of trying to understand when to talk to the person, how, in what manner, just to make sure that just to calm tensions and things like that in an understanding way. But yeah, so that was my first time, and those were the issues. Those were some of the issues that I had to deal with on the first few months.
Just to make it not all light matter of the situation, they wrote a lot of R&B songs for guys like you. In terms, you're not the guy that hurt them. So when females have a mechanism of trust issues and protecting themselves, and it's a bit unfair, I guess, when another person comes into somebody's life, the person who's been hurt, they have their guard up, they're protecting themselves, they have a lot of toxic traits as well. And we, I guess, South Asian females also have a lot of work to do when it comes to the understanding and doing therapy work, things that we don't really speak about and actually advise. And we need to bring these matters more to life. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know this is a very personal thing to you as well. I think in COVID, there's been a lot of pressures around marriages for Bangladesh. I'm just going to stay with the Bangladeshi community, but within the South Asian community as well, where parents are actually really pressuring, the adult children or the young children to get married. And in these kind of situations, is it fair to say then, like when you are trying to do something the halal way, you can miss the red flags more than somebody who's doing it in another way?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, there's pros and cons of the different ways of trying to get to know someone, right? I think for me, yes, you do miss the red flags, but some people who have had a lot of red flags met their partner in traditional ways and they seem happily married, and some don't seem happily married. So it depends on the individual and the person. What I would say is that we're living in a time now where the real person, you get to meet the real person when they're with their friends. Like when they're with their family, it might not always be like the true self, but it's a certain identity, it's a certain face that they show to you. The real person comes out when they're with their friends, when they're socializing with their friends, and therefore in that context you will see the red flags, whereas when you're with your family you might not see the red flags. But also let's not forget that for some people and for some guys, it might be difficult just to talk to the women when the family is there, like when the whole family is there, everyone's there, because you have to get to know someone, right? And you might want to show different sides of you, but you don't really show these sides to the family. So again, how do you get to know someone with the family around? And I'll give you an example. Like I had before this other person, I had a rishta, and again, like I went to the house, like the people were there, the family was there, and I was talking to the girl, and it was fine, but because the whole family was there, it was a bit like constricted, and I couldn't really socialize in the way I would normally socialize, and just to get to know someone. So again, like what I said was like, we need to get out of the family environment and basically meet up for a coffee or stuff like that, and just really just for once just hang around and see how we feel. And when that happened, that's when I decided that, or when I came to the conclusion that we're not really compatible. I wouldn't have really figured that out if I was in that family setting, because things are formal. Some of the questions that you might ask, are typical questions, like what do you do for a job, etc., etc. Can't really ask things like what kind of movies do you like, what do you like, where do you like to go out with your friends, or what kind of hobbies do you have. It's a bit awkward, like asking those questions in front of the family. And also previous relationships, like for some people that's important, and some people might want to ask those kind of things, and you can't really ask that in a family setting. To be honest, for me, my kind of position is I'm really just concerned about the person in front of me. I don't really I don't really care about the previous relationships and stuff like that, as long as it doesn't affect the person that they are now. So but some people might want to ask those things, and it's difficult to ask about those things in a family setting. So you can miss the red flags in a family setting, but also in other settings as well. The red flags can be missed. It depends on the person and how they would want to get to know the person. With me, like, it's great if you come via family, but I like, however the person comes, I'll be like, listen, it's great, but I'd want you to come out, like literally come out. Let's go out for a coffee. Let's meet our friends. You can get to know the people that I know, that I hang around with, and then vice versa, because in a way you are who your friends are. So I know in the Bengali community we have this big kind of emphasis on family and stature and family name back home, and that's what your bio data says, right? I'll be honest with you, I don't keep in contact with my family back home, so it'll be no use for you to contact my family back home. And to be honest with you, different segments of my friends know who I am better.
Thank you so much. We are going to be on a break right now, so we'll come back. Please stay tuned.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live. With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Thank you so much for coming back and joining us. Today we have Mizanur Rahman talking about finding love after a failed relationship. We would love to hear from you. So please make sure you call us on the studio or message us on 075-85-835-150. Mizanur, thank you so much for sharing so much of that. That's very interesting you said that, because growing up myself as a woman, the pressures, feeling, I constantly felt like I was lying to the rishtahs that were in front of me, especially coming from a sports background. It's like putting a face on or a mask on. And when they got to see me in the real setting, which was in a coffee shop, I'm talkative. I'm talking about life. I'm talking about things that I enjoy doing. But then I also found, and I don't know if this is true for men as well, or you can maybe educate me here. Every time I did speak and they saw the real me, sometimes men got scared. So I was like confused, the conflict of, do I say this dainty, I don't have no experience about life, or I'm not opinionated? What version of yourself do you then show to people then, as a man and as a woman?
Well, if you're getting to know someone for marriage, then you have to show them your whole self. So there's no denying it. The person has to accept the whole package. So, like with yourself, Nazia, you know this. I've said this to you. Like, you're a trendsetter. Like, you're very different, but it's in a good way, because you're being yourself. You're basically opening up. You're kind of taking on stereotypes about women and about Asian women and about Bengali women, which is a very, very positive thing. To be real with it, you have to show them your real self. With me, even though with my previous partner, we had differences. We had, there were differences of opinions. There were differences of interests. There were certain things that I was into that she didn't like, and vice versa. But I never hid any of that. Never hid any of that from her, because it's me. And this is the thing: you have to be yourself no matter what, because this is the person that you're getting married to. Now, some people might want to kind of show certain things about themselves and not others to people, because they might want to get married, and some people might have this anxiety of not getting married because of old age, because of, society, because our views on success and what success looks like. And also because of the pressures, like you mentioned, family pressures. You have to be married by a certain time, by a certain age, and also children and all these kind of things. So that adds a lot of pressure on the person, and it might mean that they kind of conform to that pressure and really let go of certain parts of themselves just to be marriageable and get married, and then start that chapter in their life. You probably know this, Nazia. I know this from my experience from the charity work that I was doing. It never ends off well. It never ends off well. The marriage might be successful, but the person remains unhappy. I know a few women who, they love their husbands, and they love the fact that they have children, but they've had to sacrifice so much of themselves that they don't love themselves anymore. And I'm always of the opinion that, look, whenever, if you want to get married, make sure you get married for the right reasons. Make sure you love the person, and the other person loves you as well, loves the whole package. If you do have differences in lifestyle, then you need to talk about these things. You need to come to an arrangement where you don't give up all aspects of yourself. Yes, there are compromises that might need to be made, but you don't give up all aspects of yourself. There are certain parts of yourself that you hold on to, just to make sure that you yourself are a complete person in the marriage. And to be honest with you, if certain things are really important to you, that person that you marry should add to that. They shouldn't take away from it. So, for example, you yourself, Nazia, like, you are a personal trainer. Fitness is very important to you. Like, if you were to get married, or if you were to find someone, that person needs to, I would think, needs to give you the time out during the day to do your fitness and to do your personal training, and to accommodate that, because that's you. With me, it's my spoken word and my creativity and my campaigning and my activism. Like, yes, I will compromise, but it's not going to go away. That's who I am. And therefore, it's important to not let go of that part of yourself. And in the meeting, it's important to tell them to put yourself on the table and say, listen, this is who I am. This is something that you're going to have to accept. And if you don't accept it, then I can't conform to this, to this. You're not accepting. If they don't accept who you are, they're not accepting you. And that's finally, that's the real deal. And they have to accept you, and vice versa as well. And that might be a good place to start.
See, there's so much in this one question that you've covered, and I want to come back to something that just sticks out in my head. We have a lot of conversations around the pressures of marriage, in terms of the pressure that we females go through, the pressures that the comments that we hear: oh, you're getting too old, who's going to marry you, your biological clock, all of that kind of stuff that is very commonly heard in our society for a female. Yeah. What is it like growing up as a man, and what are the pressures that you can only speak about yourself, but I'm so sure there are people like you, or men like you, that can relate to you. So the question is, what is it like for you growing up as a man, and the pressures that you face? What were the common things that you heard?
Well, the thing is again, growing up, my upbringing. So, like I told you before, I was never in a relationship past, except for this previous one that has failed. So, growing up as a teenager, again, this is something that I just want to touch upon. It's like in my, in these days and times, everyone had partners. They had girlfriends and boyfriends and stuff. So you have this understanding that, look, everyone's in a relationship, and I'm not in a relationship. So that was tough. Like, staying away from that was very, very hard. By the time I hit my 20s, I had confidence issues because everyone had passed a certain set of life experiences, and I didn't have that. So again, that really did play with my mental health. But the thing was, with my family and my cousins, when those discussions were had, because of the fact that I and my family members and like my brother, for example, we look after our father, we had a certain certain sense of power in this dynamic. It's not like we didn't have anything. We had a stake. We look after our father. So we used that. I literally used that. I was like, listen, you know what? I know. So if, for example, if my aunties would say stuff, I'll be like, if Allah wills, then it will happen. I'm not going to push for it I'm not going to push for getting married because of the sake of getting married. I've always been the person that, look, if I meet someone I like, then I will let you know. But the thing is, I've told my aunties and my family members that, look, I'm very different from what you guys are looking for, and therefore I'm not going to be happy with anyone that you choose. And the fact that I was very blunt and straight up about it, that kind of helped these discussions stop, because I was very forthright. I wasn't holding back. And I think my aunties felt as though, because they're used to, when they say stuff about relationships, to other people, they're used to people might be talking to them in a very subtle way and, not push back. Me and my brother, we push back. We literally push back. And my dad, like, at one point, he talked to me about it, and I'm like, and I told him straight, I'm like, Dad, I love you, I respect you, but you're not going to find anyone that I like, so please don't even go there. And that was it. So, because of the fact that we were very forthright about it, we kind of stopped the discussion within the family before it even started. Now, the thing is we still have the odd comment here and there. I might have family members say like, oh, we'd like to see you get married, have kids and stuff like that. Again, I wouldn't really think twice about it, because my response would always be the response, if Allah wills, and if I find, and he guides me towards someone I like, there you go. But if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen, and it's time to accept it. So the thing is that's how I dealt with it. But the thing is, the societal pressures was a lot, like in in the movies, TV, like the music that you listen to, everywhere, culture, like, there's an added emphasis on family, but also, like, let's be honest, like in the movies that you might even watch, like the good guy, the hot looking guy, he gets the girl. So basically, that message was always there. And that, for me, that was even worse. Like, dealing with that from a mental health perspective was even worse, because I felt like I was inadequate, and also felt like I didn't have anything to bring to the table. So when I was linking up with my friends who were like 5 years older than me, and they had come from a string of relationships, and they were married and children, so I didn't know what to bring to the table, let's put it that way. So again, those were the mental health problems that I was dealing with. And it got to the point where I did go through a phase where I hated being by myself. Like, I felt like an outsider. I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. I just hated being alone. I'd never be in the house. I'd always go out, and all that kind of stuff. But then, like, again, I got into something that, again, not many people in the Muslim community really, really, really care about, which is creativity and arts and spoken word. And when I started getting involved in that stuff, I really enjoyed being by myself, because spoken word is something that you just do by yourself, really. So I really, really love my own company, and that helped me deal with a lot of these pressures, and to cope with it. So coming from this failed relationship, I still think that, like, look, naturally, it's good to be in a relationship. Men and women, or however you view people, we need to. Human beings are social creatures, and relationships are healthy. You need to have a relationship with someone. Obviously, we all have relationships, whether with our parents or sisters or whatever. But again, for me, when I was getting to know this person, I felt like my 100% natural self. So that's why for me, it's good to be like in a kind of married relationships. But again, like, getting there, for me, it was more the societal pressures. It was more the expectations and how to deal with that. And also, let's not forget the rejection as well. Like, when you have...
We're going to come back to that one. I've got the second question on there.
Okay.
We're going to go on another break. So Mizanur has opened up so many, how shall I say, Pandora's box. Is that how they say it? There's a lot of things I want to come back to and speak to you about, Mizanur, but please us in a short while after the break, and let us know, if you're a man, I would love to hear your experiences about maybe a failed relationship, marriage, or someone, or the pressure that you face.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live. With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Welcome back, and please stay with us on a great topic. We have a great, amazing guest, Mizanur Rahman, speaking about finding love after a failed relationship. I'm going to go straight to Mizanur. Mizanur, thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Fran.
There's a few things you said there: feeling inadequate, not feeling enough, not feeling confident even as a man, because your life experiences compared to your peer groups, it was very different. What people were doing in relationships, you weren't. And it takes a very courageous person, a very courageous man. And I say this without being patronizing, because men are known not to speak about their emotional feelings or their emotions in general. This is what leads to a lot of mental health issues. For men not speaking about feeling lonely, not knowing how to navigate their feelings as well. Rejection is something, it's a very deep emotion that we need to actually dismantle here as well when it comes to failed relationships or getting to know people. In our community, we have so many rishtas, and one of the worst things that our parents do is they push the children to go into something that they may not possibly like. And it's something I spoke to my father about literally yesterday. I said to him, Dad, openly, when I went through all those rishtas and these guys rejected me, did you ever know that it affected my self-confidence? It didn't make me feel pretty. And it's really hard to explain that to a traditional, they're older than us in terms of their mentality, the way they think. Their time was very different. They didn't have any rejection. The first time they saw someone, that was it. It's get-go, right? Tell me about rejection when it comes to, I guess, in the South Asian community. How did it affect you, first of all?
Again, so the type of rejections that I would normally have is, I'll just be straight up honest with you, Nazia. Like, there's a lot of social events that happen, and there's a lot of networking events, and for me, the rejection is like, I don't even want to talk to this guy. That's how it was. It was always the case of like, I might be approaching someone just to talk and just network and mingle, and then you can see from the opposite gender, like the facial expressions, like "don't come anywhere near me," kind of thing. or I'm too, too good for you, or just like you're not, I can see you're not the right package, and all these kind of stuff. And it's like it got to the point where like I even just stopped trying. Like these social events and stuff like that, I'd never attend. But then the thing is again, it's like it's what you did with the feeling. It's like what I did with it. So again, we have this understanding that talking about feelings, things that we don't like, it doesn't conform to our understanding of masculinity and what a man is supposed to be and what strength means and all these kind of things. And therefore, there is no, apart from one person who does this, there is no safe space for men to talk about these kind of feelings, right? And, how to navigate these kind of feelings and how to go to a place where you can feel empowered by these kind of, be empowered and then carry on. So for me, it was like the rejection was like I internalized it, and it added to the fact that I didn't have anything to bring to the table. Even though my friends were saying like, Miz, you're a good guy, you do all this stuff, it's like you're better than so and so and so and so. Yeah, he might have a flash car and whatever, all that kind of stuff, but that doesn't mean that as a person you're not better. Do you understand? And it was, but the feeling for me was real. It was real self-hate. It was real spiraling. And what I would do is, like, when I'd go to these social settings, or when I would just go to like an environment that might be mixed, like I try to be the most funniest guy there. I try to say something that would just make people laugh. Actually, just just acknowledge that I was there. I felt like my people weren't even acknowledging. These people weren't even acknowledging my existence. So they'll say something funny, even to most of the times to the expense of myself. And it was very bad. That was very, very bad. Looking back at it, it's like now I do feel as though maybe there were some people that might have been interested, but I kind of really, really blew it because of the fact that I felt so bad about myself, so depressed, and I felt as though as a person I did not have anything to offer to anyone. All I could offer was just me making jokes about myself, really, and that's that's what would come out. And therefore, for me, it was important to have good friends and a good environment around you where people can talk to you. They'll take to one side, and emotionally give you a couple of slaps, not in the physical sense, but in the emotional sense, and say, listen, Ms. Like, what are you doing? Kind of thing, like, stop doing this. And it's important to have friends like that that are front with you and that will try and nurture you, because that's what helped me. That's what helped me deal with the initial sense of that feeling. And then afterwards, I just came to accept it. I just came to accept that, look, this is what it is. This is how things are. It's hard, but just if this is not happening, just focus on other things in your life. Focus on the things that are working. So for me, it was like the campaigning, the spoken word. I love doing other things like reading and, going to the gym as well. I do like going to the gym as well. These are majority of the things that you like doing that you have to do by yourself, right? So I started liking my own company, and that helped me deal with this feeling. And therefore, this feeling, which was telling me that you hate being by yourself, that you hate yourself, that you yourself are worthless, was now being turned on its head. And basically, because of that, I got involved in environments and organizations where, again, like, it was important to have that safe space where men can talk and can navigate these feelings. I had to do it myself, but now we are realizing that even in marriages, even when men get married, like, there's expectations. There's now, majority of the people, they're the breadwinner now. They have to pay the bills. They have to pay for their wife's stuff as well, which, that's an Islamic responsibility, but that comes with a certain level of pressure. And again, so even after marriage, men still need counseling, and obviously there's couples counseling and women's counseling as well, but men need counseling as well. And now my friends who are married, who I've known for decades, who are married, have opened up to me and told me that, when I got married, like when they got married, they're referring to themselves, they wished they knew about counseling, because they would have gone for the first few counseling sessions. So it's very hard, but it's important to have the safe space for men to talk. And I'm going to use this opportunity to actually promote this online platform called Man Sheds, and it's run by a guy called Razwan Faraz, who is an amazing individual. MashaAllah, may Allah reward him for everything that he's doing. And he also helped me when my relationship failed. So, talking to him really, really helped. So it is important that we have these safe spaces for men to talk. And to be honest with you, this kind of redefines our understanding of strength, of our understanding of being a man, because we have this I think in our community and in society as a whole, we have this understanding that is very toxic about what it is to be a man and what it is to be a woman. It's still very conservative, and that conservativeness can be very, very, very toxic. A man is someone who doesn't have any emotion, who basically just, has a good body, has a good looks, has good everything on top, and basically can take care of everything. Everything is sorted. That trying to live up to that, there is it can create a negative effect on the person. So therefore, I can see you're trying to come in. So do you want to say something?
No, I think it's just so important that everything you just said there. First of all, like going back to your self-hate. That it makes me emotional that anybody who goes through that had to deal with that. And I relate to that a lot, because when you see, I don't even know your story that much, but now hearing it, you have a lot of compassion for humans for who they are. And again, Hollywood, Bollywood has ruined so much in terms of idea of what a man should look like. And Man Shed does it so beautifully, where it's like to the skin, to the naked skin, you get to see what he says about men and feelings, and I think it's important to encourage more South Asian men to speak about more than anything. I'm not saying that any other race doesn't speak about, but on a whole, if we're trying to encourage a better way of living in the Muslim society, it's important that we understand both the man and the woman. So that is important as well. So any men who are watching, or females who are watching, who may feel like that their husband, their brothers need some kind of help, go and check out, what is it, Man Shed?
Man Sheds, Man Sheds, by Razwan Faraz. Yes. I think you are also Facebook friends with him as well. So basically, he's a great guy. And for me, when we broke up, basically, with my ex, that week was very tough. That 2 weeks was very hard, actually, because then I had to unlearn a lot of things. I had to undo. There was, because when you're getting to know someone or in a relationship, you have certain habits during the day. You check up on the person, or all this kind of stuff, and that had to be undone. And talking to him was really, really good, because we had this in-depth understanding. Again, in our community, in our Bengali community, in the Muslim community, relationship between man and a woman means marriage, and that's it, basically. But with Razwan, we were talking about the deeper levels of relationship, like what were the lessons to learn out of it, what to take. And to be honest with you, like, talking to him really, really helped. But he liked the fact that the thing that he was trying to show me, I already learned anyway, and I was going to take away from the relationship anyway, which is that for me, again, coming from that background where I had a lot of issues about not being in a relationship with anyone, to now being in one, even if it's just getting to know whatever, the best thing about that is that there are certain sides of me that got to live now. I'm not the type of person that, when people talk about finding love and marriage, a lot of people have this understanding that, you want to take something from someone. It's, you want to fall in love because you need something from someone. For me, it was also the other way around. I wanted to show us a lot of love. I wanted to, I'll be honest with you, like the Eid days, the birthdays, all these kind of stuff, I showered her with, I treated her like a princess. And I loved doing that kind of stuff. And so, for me, it was all about showing it as well. And I needed that side to live, because that side was repressed all for about 35.
we go to the break. Please join us. Last said is pretty fast in a short time.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live. With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Welcome back to the last part of the show, and we have discussed a lot of things in this live show today. If you guys have, or anybody has experienced any kind of abusive relationship, domestic violence, failed relationships, whatever it is that you guys can relate to and has made you feel away, we have got a site that's popped up on the screen now, britishmuslim.tv/support. Sorry, I can't see it. It's a bit blurry here for me. So if you do need any support, there is that option for you as well. Mizanur, thank you so much. I can't even keep up with half the things that we spoke about. And it's just, for me, it's fascinating. For me, it's interesting to hear it from the other gender. Because as females, we can get caught up in our little girly world as well. And I wrote something on Facebook the other day: check up on our brothers, our fathers, our husbands, uncles, sons, because they too experience mental health that they never speak about. And having you on this show is like another opening dialogue to have about men's mental health, and particularly in relationship. I feel like relationship and marriage is a very hot topic for a lot of people with mental health. When I think about it more, it makes sense, because every single one of us are going through this journey of life, wanting to be loved. And it's what you said before we went on break. I too want to be loved, but I too want to give that love. It's not just one. Do you think then, in terms of your emotional struggles around this topic, it's allowed you to be a lot more mature than who you were before?
Yeah, definitely. So going through that, don't get me wrong, it was very tough. It was, there was a lot of barriers, but I learned a lot from it. And to be honest with you, one of the things that I was able to lay to rest was this lack of confidence. Now, it's like, that's just like gone completely. Alhamdulillah, that's like, it's not something I have to worry about anymore now. But the thing is that, again, being in that relationship, it was turbulent. I'm not going to lie about that. Both sides. But learning from it, and this is the thing, talking to Razwan, and when I was explaining certain things to him, is that I got to live the best parts of myself, and that's what I'm going to take from it. I got to live the best parts for myself, and this other stuff is I will learn from it, but I'm not going to let the fact that the relationship failed destroy me. I'm not going to let it. So again, like, when I knew, when it was apparent that this thing was over, like, I remember talking to a friend, and I was just really so upset, and I was telling them that, what, I'm never ever going to, like, the things I did for this person, to help this person, the family, to help them with their own issues, I'm never ever going to do this for anyone, to anyone ever again. I'm never going to help anyone like I did ever again, because it was just a negative feeling. And the friend who I was talking to, they were like, Miz, like, I know you very well, and that's not who you are, man. Like, tearing this part of yourself, which is a great part of yourself, like, the fact that, you emotionally invest in people, and, like, you help them and stuff like that, that's who you are, man. And that's, you saying that you're going to tear this part of yourself away because of what happened, I know that's not you. And to be honest with you, the real you will come back. And I remember because I was having that conversation in the night. By the morning, I just woke up and I just thought, you know what am I talking about? Like literally, one of the best things about this was that the best parts of me got to live. They got to live. They got to see some daylight, and I'm not going to let that. I'm not going to let the ending of this relationship destroy that. So that's what I'm going to take, and basically, what for me, like that's what I took, and I'm going to add more to that basically because those are the parts that I love about myself. So that's what I've learned from this struggle. Now, but what I will say is this, like, because this is the final segment, and I think we need to touch upon this. In this society, we are in a cycle. We are in a cycle of endless relationships, bad relationships, and what's happening is that broken people understandably would want to protect themselves, but then in a way they're going about and breaking more people, and then therefore it's happening in a cycle. Whoever is in a bad relationships, or the relationship ended because of some issue that might have happened, they might harbor a lot of anger. But then when a real person comes along, that anger and that kind of that defensiveness that person might have, it goes off on that other person, and it affects the other individual. The individual might be a good guy or a good girl. They've been affected by that now, and therefore they can either choose to relent to it or choose to rise above it, depending on what's easier to do. And to be honest with you, relenting to it in terms of being more negative is the more easier thing to do, is really the more easier thing to do. And for me, I'm not going to toot my own horn. Like, there were times where in the relationship where, like, certain environments, certain situations brought out the absolute worst in me. And, there were certain times as a person, I could only take so much. But then it's like, what I've learned from it is that, yes, it was turbulent. It was very, very hard. But I don't hate the other individual. Like, at the end of it, I was like, I don't. And I told the person this, I don't hate you. In fact, I still care about you. We're just not gonna do this anymore. But you know what? The thing is I haven't said this in this interview, but I've told you this on WhatsApp, is that when I met the person, they were in a very, very bad shape, in a very bad emotional, mental, physical shape. It was very, very bad. I'm going to say this, alhamdulillah, I left them in a better state. They were completely 90% done with a lot of their, in fact, not 90%, 99% done with a lot of their issues. So I had to deal with it. Now, a lot of people might say, what did you get out of it, Miz? They say this, like, you didn't get married to this person, so, you didn't really get anything out of it. I got the best parts of myself out of it. And I also can say that, look, I did not leave anyone in a worse position than I found them. And that makes me so happy. And I told her that. And she is very appreciative of that as well, and her friends as well. And her friends have all corroborated that, listen, Ms., not every guy can say this. She was like, not every guy can say that when they met someone, it was in a really bad state and they left them in a good state, in a better state. You did that. And those are the things I want to take. Yes, like, I did not get married to the person, but I did not look at it like, an end goal. I was looking for something a bit more deeper. And this is what Razwan helped, like, look into the deeper meaning of things. And for me, I can now, alhamdulillah, I can put my head up and say that, like, this is what I'm like now when I'm in a relationship. So, like, go on, carry on, you're going to say?
I mean, that's amazing, because a lot of people, when they go through failed hardships, whatever it is, we automatically get negative. And again, you're right. Being negative about something is the easiest thing to do. In order for us to learn, you got an experience to learn what relationship and what love was, and you got to experience the best parts of you. I absolutely love that. You got to experience the best parts of you. I'm just going to share a message that's come through. Thank you to the viewer who actually took time out to message. Salam to Nazia Khatun and our guest today, Mizanur Rahman. For me, dating can affect you mentally. A failed relationship can sometimes make you think you won't meet someone, but you need to be patient. You could find someone, inshallah. It's important to make dua to Allah and try to find someone. It's important to respect and be honest. If you had a toxic, abusive, unhealthy relationship or marriage, it's important you learn from this and date when you're ready, inshallah. I totally 100% agree with that. Thank you for the nice show today. Do we know the topic for next week? We don't know yet. Being single is okay. Yes, it is. It can make you feel alone or lonely, which isn't good. I think it can be nice to have good friendships, alhamdulillah, with the opposite gender and get some advice from them. I think also, thank you so much. That was a very nice, your opinion was very nice and appreciated. A lot of people are getting married young, very young, where they don't know themselves. And not knowing yourself and then going into a relationship where they don't know themselves as well has a lot of challenges. So when you're a bit older, you get to know who you are, what your boundaries are, who you're about. It becomes more fruitful to navigate in that relationship. Like, I find it difficult to wake up every morning and understand what emotion I'm living in. I need to understand me first before I can expect somebody else to understand me. And it's important that we understand that. We are coming very, very close to the end of the show, Mizanur. And in a very short few sentences, what do you look for in the opposite gender now when it comes for marriage?
You know, I've never had set criteria. I've never had a set criteria. Like,
you got 90 seconds. You got 90 seconds. Let's go.
If I can connect to the person, if we're on the same vibe, basically, if we have, if we can get along with each other, if our personalities connect. So those are the things. These are the things, like, yes, you know, like them being Muslim and all that kind of stuff. That's understandable. But the way we treat them is like tick boxes. Yes, tick boxes. If you have all the ticks, you're fine. I need to vibe with the person, and that's basically it. If we can do that, and if you have good interests, that's the start for me.
Thank you so much. You did so well. And to everybody out there who's taking the time to watch the show today, thank you so much. Mizanur Rahman, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for truly
The pleasure is mine.
Raw and vulnerable moments here. And I hope that we have opened up a dialogue on this show. And just to remind you, it is men's mental health. The South Asian community do struggle with talking about topic. Please make sure you do talk about it. There is counseling out there. There is Muslim therapists on hand now as well, compared to a few years ago. To put in forward for the next week's show or any topics, please message us or text us on 079 507 79.
With 3 million members searching, singlemuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.